In Cornbread Mafia, it's the unbelievable true story of the Cornbread Mafia, a group of Kentucky farmers who built the largest domestic marijuana syndicate in US history. Sons of tobacco farmers, moonshiners, and bootleggers, they've turned to pot to keep their families fed. A lot of crazy stuff happens in this film, and they end up being Kentucky folklore, lion cubs on the farm, backroad police chases, and a code of silence that baffled prosecutors. Cornbread Mafia is directed by Evan Muscatney and Drew Morris. Drew Morris has previously directed a documentary called Red Balls, and Evan Muscatney has co-directed two films, Building a Bridge and Circle of Poison, and Cornbread Mafia just debuted at the 2026 South by Southwest Film Festival. Cornbread Mafia kind of starts off with kind of like a little bit of a skit involving the brothers, Joe Bickett and Jimmy Bickett, and that first scene in the film, you kind of know you're kind of in the film for like a humorous journey, because these two brothers don't really take themselves too seriously. And this documentary focuses on the original founding members of the Cornbread Mafia, like Joe Bickett, Jimmy Downs, Garland Russell, Bobby Shoemaker, and Johnny Boone. These original members of the Cornbread Mafia, they started this operation maybe in the late 70s, early 80s, but by the mid 80s to 85, 89, they were accused of growing 182 tons of marijuana on 29 farms across 10 states like Minnesota, Illinois, Indiana, Tennessee, Michigan, Nebraska, Missouri, and Kansas. And this film is pretty much told from in chronological order, back from the 70s all the way to the 90s, and they all grew up poor, don't really have any skills, not many jobs in the areas that they're living, and all they pretty much know is farming. And they started off with tobacco farming, and then they started smoking marijuana on the side just for recreational purposes, and they think, oh, maybe we can grow this stuff, and then they started growing the marijuana farm. And they're kind of like, in this film, they kind of trying to present themselves as just like a working class family, like farming family who just wanted to put some bread on the table. But as the film goes on, it gets pretty crazy. Like they make a lot of money, and they get involved in a lot of partying and drugs, and get addicted to drugs, and they end up getting, like, occasionally the police will shut down one of the farms, but they always, like, very smart to like put farms in different counties. So if one farm gets shut down, they can just go to the other farm, and sometimes they get convicted and go to jail for some time, and then they get let out and they go back to doing the marijuana farming. There's a lot of crazy stories in this film about like exotic animals like tigers and stuff on their farms, and car chases and sex orgies and just police shootings, and then we get like interviews with police and DEA who were involved in the arrest of these criminals, I guess, and they tell the audience, they tell the viewers in this documentary, these individuals were not as innocent as they seemed. They were it's a very big, very smart, intelligent organization that were very conniving, and they weren't like the biggest marijuana operation in the United States for no reason. They definitely knew what they were doing. But for me, this film kind of glorifies these original members of this syndicate. That I find it hard to believe that they made so much money and were so powerful in the 80s that they didn't kill people, they didn't really make a lot of people suffer throughout this film. So this film really does glorify them. The original members out there are allowed to tell their own story. So it's a very sanitized version of the events. But it doesn't really take away from the fact that this film is very entertaining, because there is a lack of footage from that era. It's mostly comprised of animated sequences to reenact these original crazy stuff that happened back in the 80s. Because there's only basic like newspaper clippings and some news footage of from the time. But other than that, the film mostly comprises of like narration, interview footage, and animated footage throughout the film. So despite my misgivings that this film like glorifies these original members of the Cornbread Mafia, it is a very well put together documentary that is entertaining throughout. I give Cornbread Mafia 3.5 stars out of 5. This is a very well put together documentary that uses a lot of animated sequences to reenact the mid-80s, and it's quite a wild ride. A lot of crazy stuff happens in this film, and the original Cornbread Mafia, there are very entertaining interviews throughout the film with them. Even though I think this film does glorify them a little bit, I would have liked a little bit more of a like a unauthorized account of the times, but still this is a very original and this is a very entertaining documentary. Thanks for watching. What do you think of Cornbread Mafia? Please comment below what you thought of the film. See you next time. Bye.